Well, welcome to our training today on Inside.SMU. And before we get started, I'd just like to know what areas of campus we have. So you'll see on the far right of your screen you have a dialog box, and there's a chat button, chat box towards the bottom. And if you'll just type in, if you can hear me, what area of campus you're working with. Okay, we have someone from DEA and LEC. A couple of people from the LEC. And the internal audit. Hi, Lisa. Okay, this is Laureen, and with me today is Emily Blackmore. And just to put a face with the people you'll be hearing from today, here's a picture of us. And just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we do. We are part of Office of Information Technology, and we are the training team. We also manage internal communications and external communications, so announcements to the campus about new software. We have a blog that we both update on a regular basis, and I wanted to invite you to that. It's the IT Connect blog. You can find that from blogs.smu.edu, and it's IT Connect. And we do post weekly tips and tricks about various different types of software. Emily teaches Photoshop InDesign classes, some PowerPoint. I also teach Microsoft classes, Excel, and Inside.SMU is a particular class I'm certified in. It's SharePoint 2010, and I have probably taught about 50 classes on this. So it's a product I actually really enjoy teaching on, and excited to show you a little bit about it. I've been with SMU with IT for 6 years. Actually, this week I'm celebrating my anniversary, and on my spare time I am grooming a SMU future student. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, in our training today, I want to just talk to you really quickly about where we're heading. I'm going to show you a sample team site. We're going to talk about basic navigation, how to navigate easily within Inside.SMU, and talk about just some different uses that you can utilize team sites for. And before we leave this training, I'm going to show you some training resources, and then if you don't currently have a team site, how to request a team site. Really quickly, I'm going to put a poll out for our audience here, and I'm interested in knowing how many of you are familiar with Inside.SMU, if you've used it at all. So you should see this on your screen, and if you'll just answer this question really quickly. And I'm going to give it another minute. Okay. So I think most everyone has answered. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and we'll take a look at those results. And it looks like most of you haven't used Inside.SMU, so you're probably just wondering, what in the world is it? How do I utilize it? I guess the remaining of you have a little bit of experience. You may have used it. Some of you may use it on a regular basis, just want some tips and tricks along the way. So I will tell you that today's class is not going to be a how-to session as much as it will be what is available for you for resources and different ways that you can use it, and hopefully I can give you some ideas on that. I'm going to go ahead and hide this poll, and let me hop over to my team site. And just to set some ground rules, I know you may have some questions along the way, and I want to make sure that I do answer them. You can type those questions in the chat, and I'm going to pause at different sections of the training to ask and answer questions. I will not be answering them all as soon as they are requested or asked. So Emily will be helping me filter questions, but I will along the way stop and ask for questions. Okay? So first of all, what is Inside.SMU? For those people who haven't used it, it's SharePoint 2010. It's a Microsoft product, and I will tell you that you already know bits and pieces of how to use Inside.SMU just simply because of familiarity with Microsoft Office. Basically, you want to think of Inside.SMU as a place where we can build team sites and build pages within our team sites, so web pages, and these are for internal use. So you want to think of these as the intranet. On the left here is my quick launch bar, and this is my menu here, and then I also have a menu at the very top. What I'm going to do, though, is I want to kind of give you an overview at a high level of how SMU is using it. So I'm going to start. You'll see this folder at the top, and if you're currently using Inside.SMU, you can always get to the main page by clicking the folder. It'll show you where you're at. We're on the home page of a training demo site, and I can go to the main page of Inside.SMU. If you were to log in to Inside.SMU, you would go to Inside.SMU.edu. For those of you who use Explorer, you want to make sure you make this a trusted site. And what I'll do is after the session today, I will email you some instructions on how to make it a trusted site, and then also how to set up Explorer so that you don't have to log in every single time that you type in Inside.SMU.edu. Okay? For those of you using Firefox, you can just remember password. The way that SMU has their internal website set up here for Inside.SMU, it's sorted by schools, organizations, and then different services, so HR, IT, and then we have a committee site as well. If you're looking for a particular area, you could just go to, we'll go to HR here. Whoops, I don't have access to that. Sorry, I meant to go to IT. And some pages in the example with IT have a facing page so anybody can see it. And other areas on campus may have it blocked off, like the example with HR. You can set security at, it's very granular, so if you wanted to have a facing page for your department, you could set that up. So this would tell here for us a little bit about OIT, and we also have specific pages because we do a lot of projects for people. If they wanted to come and look at where we are in the projects, they could come to some of the particular links that we have set up. I'm going to come back to the main page, though. When you're on the main page, and this is really important, I have some training resources for you. I'm going to click on the training resources, and I'm going to show you a number of tips and tricks today, but the one thing that I want to do is make sure you know how to get here. So if you went to the main page of Inside.SMU.edu, click on Training Resources, and then under Online Training, there's a number of links and different information on libraries and lists, and I have some training guides. I recommend this Building Your Site in Inside.SMU. It's the most comprehensive training guide that I have here. And these links contain both documentation and videos that are available for you. Okay, I'm going to go back to my training page. Let me just browse back here. And I want to make sure I'm on the right one here. There we go. So we have our quick launch on the left. At the top here is our global navigation. As you have a team site, you want to probably start thinking, how do I want to build my site for my people, and what are the best use cases for it? So I think of this as the intranet, and it's a place where you can house documents, and you really want to think of your team site as a tool for collaboration. So in that regards, I'm going to begin with the libraries section. Here I have this libraries link, and I have a number of them displaying, but it may not be all the information that I have in the library. So if I click on libraries, you'll see that in addition to, well, let me click on lists. In addition to these three items, I may choose to have other items not displaying on my quick launch. And the reason that I might do that, maybe I'm setting something up on a team site that I'm creating and ready to roll out to my department, but I'm not yet ready for them to see it. So I have the ability to choose if something's going to be displayed here on the left. I'm going to go back to libraries, and I'm going to go to team documents. And these are the different documents that I have, and what you're seeing right now is basically a sample for a demo I did for the staff association. And we had a library here, and with our library we also added a column so that we could sort if a particular item was, let's say, for staff development day, picnic, the talent show, etc. So instead of having where you would think of the V drive with a number of different folders, I could have a library with a large amount of documents and simply sort them by the type of project or however I want to tag that. In my library, there's a number of ways that you can work with your library, and we'll start with the basics. If you want to add a document, you just simply click Add a Document, just like you would with uploading a file you'd browse. You also, if you're in Internet Explorer, as you're getting started, you can upload multiple files, and then you can drag and drop to those files. I'm just going to close out of here. Whenever I'm in Inside.SMU, I have a tab that will be a tool tab. In this case, is a library tool tab. If I was on lists, it would be a list tool tab. And within that tab are two sub-tabs. And in this case, I have a documents tab and a library tab. On the documents tab, if I'm wanting to do something to an individual document, I would come to my documents tab. Now you'll notice I have a number of grayed out buttons, and the reason for that is simply because I don't have a document selected. An important thing to know about Inside.SMU is that you will see many of the same icons on both tabs. So you really want to pay attention to where you are because the icons perform differently. So for example here, this is an alert me. And basically you can set up an alert on a particular document. Now here is an old document from the last year's picnic was the sample that we used. But let's say, for example, whoever's putting together the event of the day. They're planning the event, they've got all of their agenda items on there, and maybe they're collaborating with other people on campus. So the way that they've set up their team site is not for one particular department, but it can be used for people across campus working on a particular project. So in this particular example, they set an alert, and I'll show you the alerts. And maybe the organizer of this event wants to be alerted anytime someone from the Staff Association Committee changes something to a document. So every time there's something new added, maybe there's a new function of the day that's going to be added to this event, I could set my alert so when someone else changes the document, I want to see that. I can choose when to have that alert sent, and it can be immediately, daily, or weekly. And then once I choose that, and I'm going to just keep that notification immediately, and I'd click OK. If, let's say, for example, someone in Student Affairs is on the part of the Staff Association and organizing this event with me, they come in and they add something to this, I would receive an email, and it would alert me that something has changed. That email would also have a URL, so I could directly come to this document and I can see anything that's changed. I will tell you, if you decide to use alerts, you probably want to plan a little time to tailor them. You may, for example, decide that you want to set an alert to be notified immediately and not realize how often that document's used. And I will tell you, when I first did that, I had set an alert in a document and I got so many emails because I didn't realize how many people were utilizing that particular document. So a daily notification or a weekly summary, if it's a report, could be handy. Notice here this alert button is also on the library tab. So this is an example of why I really want to pay attention to what tabs I am. This alert button functions similarly but a little bit differently on the library tab. So if I was to set an alert in this example, because I'm on the library tab, it would set the alert on the entire library. So maybe Let's say I am the financial officer and I want people to submit their budgets into a particular financial library. Then I could create an alert so every time a new item is added, I would receive an email. And especially if you're working on budgets in February and we're on that hot and heavy deadline, that might be something you want to do. And then you can be notified when someone else has added a document, then you can review it as needed. If I want to make a modification in my library, the easiest way if you're brand new to Inside.SMU to work with your document and you see all these different icons, for some people that's a little overwhelming, you can simply hover over the document and pretty much everything you need is at your fingertips here. So if you wanted to edit, you can edit really easily. Notice here you can edit in the browser and edit in Word. I'll show you an example here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that picnic document. And I think this is just a template. I'm not sure what we're going to be looking at. Okay. How many of you, I'm really interested in knowing, how many of you use Locker? If you currently use Locker, go ahead and put that in the chat. Okay, I know we have some Locker users out there. But if you use Locker, you have to download your document, you make your changes and modifications, and then you have to upload it again. Here's the difference with Inside.SMU. I can edit in my browser. And it's thinking about it here. Hold on a second. It's going to pull up my document. I can make very quick edits. And let's just say this is no longer the draft version. You'll see I'm not in Word, so I'm not in the application itself. I'm going to click Save. I've removed that draft. And I don't need to re-upload anything. It's automatically saved as soon as I just jump out, click that Save button. So that's one thing I like over Locker. This is especially great if you're coming in and you're making quick changes to a document. So let's say this was an agenda, for example. I come in, maybe I don't know the date and time of a particular meeting, and I come in, I make that change, and I click Save. If I wanted to print this document, I'm better off by opening it in Word. And I'm going to just minimize something here. On the far right, you'll see this Open in Word. I could click Open in Word, so if I want to print, I'd open in Word, make my modifications, save it in Word just like we always do. It will save back to the server, and I would print from Word. And Microsoft's recommendation is if you're going to be in a document for 15 minutes or less, you can probably edit it in Word pretty easily, in the browser pretty easily. If you're going to be in a document more than 15 minutes, they recommend you check out the document and that you also operate in the application itself. So how do you check out a document? Well, first of all, you'll notice in the very top here, there's a little arrow, and that icon is a little bit different than the others. I'm going to hover over that icon, and you'll see that this particular document is checked out to my colleague, Emily. And I can see that just by hovering over. So I would be prevented from going and editing this document. You can set up your library a couple of different ways. You can choose to require everyone to check out a document, or it could be that in your area where you work, it's okay if multiple people edit a document at the same time. I have heard of instances where, let's say, a press release or maybe a big report, two people might be writing different articles. They could be in the same document at the same time. I could be writing one paragraph or one particular article. My colleague Emily could be in the same document writing another article. If Emily tried to jump into my article, the paragraph that I'm on would be locked. So you can choose to customize your settings as needed. To customize settings, I'm going to jump to the Library tab, and I just want to show you a few of the different things here. I'm going to go to my Library settings. And there's a whole slew of options. We're just going to focus on a couple of them that are the most important ones. And I believe when you first decide to begin using an Inside.SMU site and you start setting up your libraries, the versioning is probably one of the most important settings. So I've set up versioning. I've come to versioning, and here's where I would choose if I want versions. And I've chosen major versions, and I can send you our training materials. This is the one setting that we recommend. And basically, I think with a document, you probably don't need more than 10 versions of a document. So I just came in here, I selected my major versions, and I put the 10 number of versions that would be set. So why did I do that, and why is that important at all? Well, a couple of things here. If, for example, I came into a particular document, and I'm not sure which ones I might have edited, but let's say we're working on a project, and we have everything hammered out, and then we go to a manager or someone who has a different idea, or somehow the project's being changed. We change that document, we reflect those new change of plans, and then 3 months later we kind of want to revert to that. Well, if I have my version history set, I can click on version history, and now I can see all the different versions of the document. And I can go to a previous version. So I'll just come here, and it's pulling it up. And if I want to compare previous versions, I can click compare. It's telling me this is not the latest version. And if you're familiar with track changes, this probably won't look too different to you. And in this example, there's no difference, and that's probably because this is a training document, and we didn't do many changes on this. I have seen several offices who have reverted to different versions, specifically anyone who's utilizing this tool for editorial gathering and record keeping. I've seen it change for certain things as well as in that regards. And bear with me 1 second. And I'm going to close out of that. Also, when you do versioning, you do have the ability to leave comments for someone, so that next person that you're collaborating with, they can see what changes that you've made if you've left any comments as well. Do we have any questions on libraries and how they can be used? One of the common questions that I get with libraries and documents is, how secure is my library? And can I put something in a library and prevent people from seeing it? You absolutely can. So this is a good segue for me on permissions and security in your library. In this particular example, we'll just assume that this training site was set up for those people who are on the Staff Association Planning Committee. So again, it's across different areas on campus. It's not, this particular site wasn't designed for one particular department. And the way that the permissions would have been set would be for those people who need access to the entire team site. Let's say in this example, only the people who are working on the talent show, maybe I had a separate different library specific for that event, would need to see those documents. I could come into my library and I could click on the permissions for that particular library and set the permissions for just the people that need to access that library. I also can do that for the entire documents, for each individual document. So for example, here's an agenda that Emily was working on. And maybe Emily wants to invite someone who's not part of the staff association to a particular meeting. So maybe they're going to have a guest speaker and they want one of the deans to come in. And they want to send the agenda to the dean's assistant. Emily could come in here, she could select her document, She could choose document permissions, and she could grant permissions to that appropriate person. And I know, Bindu, I saw you had a question, and I'll answer it in 1 second, but I'll use you as my example. So we'll say that Bindu wants to, she's organizing for whoever is coming to our meeting. I'll add her here. And she doesn't have access to the site, but I can grant her access to that particular document, and I can choose to give her full control. I probably don't want to do that. She'd be able to delete it. Maybe contribute if I wanted her to add to the agenda, but if she's just organizing or wants to print out the agenda for someone who's coming to speak at a meeting, probably read would be fine. I could select it for read. She'd be able to download it. She'd be able to print it and give it to the appropriate person that she's assisting so that they will be prepared when they come to speak at our meeting. The view only, if I had selected view only, that would allow someone to have access to the site. They could view that one page only. Here I could choose send welcome email to the user, and the subject basically, it's going to be the name of the document, but you can tailor that, you can change that, and you can also write a personal message if needed. And I'm going to go ahead and just cancel and close out. And I see we had a question, so I'm going to pause here and answer the question. Okay, can I elaborate on the differentiation between libraries from documents? And okay, and I guess the reason for the question is because the features have documents listed. Bindu, are you specifically referring to the icons that you see? If you'll just type your answer in the chat. Basically, the documents are housed in a particular library. If I want to edit my permissions, I can edit them at a very granular level. So I can edit them just so that someone only has permission to my document. Maybe I'm giving someone permission to an entire library that's not part of my team. For example, if I was being audited, maybe there was a particular library I wanted someone to have access to. And then I could, even at a greater level, give someone permission at the site level. Okay, I'm not sure if I answered the question here. Okay. Okay, so the question basically are what are the functional differences between some of the same icons in the document and library features? I think the key thing to remember is you're going to see a lot of the same icons throughout your team site. And this is why you want to pay close attention to where you are, because the icons look the same. The action may be slightly different depending on where you are. So, for example, here I have a document selected. You'll see some of these icons are exactly the same. We have our document permissions, the email, a link, and alert me. Here are 3 that you will see on the very next tab on library. Here's my email, a link, my alert me, and my library permissions. They function similarly, but not exactly the same. So the key thing to remember is if you're on a particular tab and you want to do something to one individual document, you would come to that tab, and let's say, for example, I want to set permissions for one document. Then in this particular case, I would choose the permissions tab on the document, under the document section of the library's tools. However, if I wanted to give someone permissions to my entire library, then it would allow me to do the same thing by going to permissions, but I have to be on the library tab. So that's really the key difference. And that's why you're seeing some of the same icons in different places within the site. Does that answer your question? Okay. Do we have any other questions out there about libraries and how to use them? Or what purposes they would be used for? So a couple of examples for us. We have a number of different libraries on my particular team. I have one that has more business processes. I have one that's collaborative documentation. All my outlines for training, we keep those in one particular library. You may have one for budgets where you want to have for different financial information, very similar to the V drive and how you would organize the V drive. The key thing is, I think you don't need a lot of different folders. You can add columns along the way. You'll see at the very top here that you have some breadcrumbs. And right now we're looking at the viewing all documents. This is our change view setting. And if you add columns, you can filter by the type of documents that you want. So in this particular case, you'll see I filtered this just for Staff Development Day. I'm going to go ahead and move to the list section, and there's a whole number of lists that you can add to your team site, and I'm going to begin with the announcements. So I'm going to use the main page of the Inside.SMU site, and here you'll see we have a couple of different announcements. They haven't been updated in a very long time, but a couple of things I like about the announcements, and I don't particularly use these for my team. It's just a very small team in our office. But if I had maybe a group of 8 or 10 people and I was sending them information and emailing them on a regular basis, I think I would use the announcements. And here's how I would use it. Here's the announcements. I could add my new announcement. And let's say we had to add some type of contact report. Maybe we were working for the Career Center and we meet with different recruiters. So we probably keep some sort of contact report on the people that we're meeting. So I'm going to say contact report due. Here's my reminder to my folks. I'm going to put in the body, just type some blank text there. It doesn't have to stay on my website, so those old ones that you saw was because I didn't set an expiration date, but maybe this is due at the end of the week or maybe by the end of the month. I want everyone to turn this in before Christmas break, so I'm going to put December 20th. It's going to appear on my site. Well, at first glance, you might not think that's very helpful because people have to go to this site to see this announcement. Why would this be any better than sending an email? Here's where your alerts come into play. An announcements are a list. I can come here and I'll click my announcements. And I'm going to have my same 2 tabs. In this set of library tools, it's a list tools. I've got items and I've got lists. So I want to do something to the entire list or to a particular item. In this case, I would use this announcement tool as a way to send regular emails out. So if I wanted to, for example, have regular communication, I'm going to set an alert, and I would put all the employees that need to get this. So maybe there's a core group of people that I'm working with that need this particular announcement list. I'd add my 4 or 5 people here. And when new items are added, they will get an announcement via email. So what I've essentially done is I've streamlined my process so that the only thing I have to do now is put in what I essentially would have put in the body of the email. This is going to automatically trigger. That keeps me from having to, maybe I might miss somebody in my email, etc. And I can keep a running list. I can choose for these also to fall off by the expiration date. They won't fall off the list, they'll just fall off the display that's on the front page. And then I can filter my views as necessary. A couple other lists that we have. We'll go to the calendar here. Your calendar does sync with Outlook. So works very similar to Outlook. You'd come in here, you could add an event, and you just click Add. And you can create various different overlays. So how are people using the calendars? I will tell you that I know of a couple of areas that utilize the calendar for their out of office, and then they have created different views for the out of office, so they can pull by department, they can pull by various individuals. It could be that maybe you are managing two different calendars, so one that's out of office, but maybe you have an event calendar as well. And then you could do a calendar overlay between the two. So if somebody requests some time off, you can see if you want to approve that or not based on the event that you have that day. So that's another use case for that. I know of one area on campus that utilizes the calendar to manage their student worker schedule. So those are a couple of things that you might want to use the calendars for. I'm going to click this list button, which takes us to the list page. Sorry about that. And we're going to click Create. And I just mostly want to show you the various different templates that we have set up here. So there's all sorts of libraries and lists. I'm going to click List. And you can choose to create a custom list as well as a predefined list that's in the system. And I mostly just wanted to show you the different templates that are available as well. Let's say, for example, I wanted to have a tracking list. I might want to use the task list. Again, this would sync to Outlook, and I would be able to see those items on the task list by clicking the Connect to Outlook button on my Outlook. So I don't necessarily have to be in Inside.SMU. Here's a task list that's already developed for us. If I clicked Connect to Outlook, I could add something to my Outlook task list and it would automatically upload. So I'm not having to be in here all the time and add a new item. Okay? Any questions on the task lists? All right. I will tell you, if you decide that you want to use the calendar, I always get the question as far as calendars go, if I sync it to Outlook, does that mean all of my items on my particular calendar would display on the team site? No, they would not. And I know there's a lot of concern about that. People, you might have a personal appointment. You can just choose what items that you want to sync simply by dragging the appropriate items to the Outlook calendar. So I'll show you really quickly a demo, just that might make it a little bit easier for you. We'll go to this event staffing. I'll go to calendar, and let me connect it to Outlook. I'll click allow, and it's asking me, do I really want to connect? I'm going to say yes. And here I have my training demo, okay? Now, I don't have anything on this side, but if I wanted to put something so that would automatically post, I'll just put this one here, and we have our webinar. We'll move that one over. And I've been in back-to-back training today. Now, let me come back to our Inside.SMU site. And let me scroll down. Let me go to my event calendar. I don't have it displaying here. And now you can see that my items have populated. So I don't have to be in Inside.SMU to have something be uploaded to Inside.SMU. And of course, on my calendar tab, I have different views, and there are my items. So again, this can be really helpful if you're managing a large group of people. You want everyone to see where they're coming and going and when time off would be. This might be something you want to utilize. Similarly with libraries, on my lists, and let's go back to our event staffing here, I can change my layout. So I can have all events displaying, and I can modify events. So I can query off this list as needed. Again, if you are have a lot of data in a particular item, whether it's libraries or lists, you can query off that and pull it and tailor it just pretty easily to what you want. And I think the best example of showing you how easy to tailor what you want to see would be that team documents where we were previously. If I wanted to create a view, let's add a new document here really quickly. And this is an article I want to read, just throwing it from my desktop. So it says it was uploaded successfully. It's checked out to me. Now I've set it so that I require a project here. And we're going to just say that this is for the upcoming Christmas benefit. Now take this Christmas benefit and times that by 50 documents, okay? This could be a really large library. Similar with lists, you could have a calendar that's very large. You can filter it out, and you can create a view very easily by clicking Create a View. You can go to your standard view. And now I just want those that are for the Christmas benefit. And I'm just going to type Christmas. I can choose if this is going to be a personal view or a public view. So if there's a view that I like just for me that no one else in my department needs, that could be helpful. We'll make this public. And then all I'm doing is I'm filtering. So I'm saying only the items when the project begins with Christmas. And let me go ahead and click OK. There we go. I know we had a question regarding the calendars and the view settings, so let me go look at that question. Okay, how do you get a particular event to automatically update on the Inside.SMU calendar if someone only enters the information on Outlook without syncing everything? How do you get a Okay, you don't have, when you choose Sync to Outlook, basically all you're doing is you're allowing yourself the ability, I'm going to shut this down here, to bring something over. So let's say, for example, you have a staff meeting. You want that to be, or some kind of special meeting that's not already on your calendar in Inside.SMU. You can bring things over two ways. You can either drag and drop from your calendar to the Inside.SMU. Whoops, and it's asking me if I want to copy the series. I'm just going to copy the selected occurrence. Or if you want something to go automatically to Inside.SMU, you don't necessarily need it on yours. So let's say I'm planning a meeting. And I don't need to be there, but I want my whole team to know. Maybe, let's just say we're going to have a visit from George Bush on campus that day. All right. And it's an all-day event. I just want my staff to know. I'll click Save and Close. It will automatically go to Inside.SMU. So I'm not necessarily syncing everything on the left. I'm picking and choosing what I want. and I don't need to be in Inside.SMU if I want to add something to a particular calendar. I just need to have my team site calendar available. Does that make sense? And Karen, if I'm not answering your question, you can let me know if I need to further clarify. Okay, so we'll go back to that calendar. And it was our event calendar. And you'll see that added. So I think it's really helpful that you actually don't have to be in the team site, that you can sync to Outlook. And I also think that both in the libraries and the list, this extra view here where you can do some sorting and filtering can be really a powerful tool if you're adding categories. So in this case, if I was adding a category just for meetings, I could filter out just the meeting view, and I would have a list similar to our all events list that would be just for specific meetings. Or I could filter by location, etc. Those are the main things that I wanted to point out in Inside.SMU. Basically, the power of collaborating with the libraries, making your permissions as granular as you want. So if you want to give permissions to a specific item in team documents, you have that ability. With the lists, I think that the potential for tracking student worker projects, for using it for calendars can be helpful. And I'm going to point you in the right direction of how to request a team site, and then we'll take some more questions. You'll see here I've pulled up this slide. If you're interested in getting a team site, the first thing you want to do is you want to go to the IT page, which is smu.edu/OIT. You want to open a help desk ticket, and you want to select this web services link. Once you select the web services, you're going to see new Inside.SMU site, and that's for anyone who doesn't have a site yet. From there, you're going to fill out a form, and the default's going to be a details tab. What you want to do is go to this required fields tab. And basically here you'll just put in the site name, and it's going to ask you what your major department and minor department are. And I get a lot of questions, what do I put in here? So for example, my team is the IT training and communications team, but we are part of support services and part of Office of Information Technology. I want to basically list the chain of command here because you'll remember at the very beginning when I pointed out the different team sites across the page. That is helpful for navigation, especially for those people once you have a forward-facing site. Then I'm going to provide all the IDs for those people who have need permission to my site and any special instructions. So that's how you would get started with a team site. I know we have a couple more questions, and I want to make sure we have time to answer those. Okay. Great question, Lisa. So Lisa asked a question. She wants to know if individuals who are not on the SMU network have access to files within the Inside.SMU documents. So if you wanted to, for example, share this with external auditors. And I actually get this question quite a bit. We also have a need with faculty members who may want to collaborate on research with other faculty members in different universities. At this time, we don't have basically an external component. However, that is something we are talking about, basically an outside, I don't want to say outside SMU, but that's technically what it would be, an outside portion for those external people. So right now it is just limited to those people in SMU only. And hopefully in the near future we will have some sort of external component that will link with this, and we'll have that ability to have team sites where we could have maybe committee members or volunteers, those people externally that we need to communicate with and can house specific documents. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so someone just wanted to know how to create an Inside.SMU site. Basically, really quickly, you would go to the IT webpage, and it's again Web Services, and you want to select New Inside.SMU site. And then you're just going to list your departments and all the people. You want to really think about all the people that you want to have access to that site. You would have the ability to grant permissions along the way and add them, but it's a little bit easier for you if you provide everyone that you want to have permission to that site up front. Excuse me. Any other questions? Okay. Last but not least, I just want to remind you from time to time we send out some email announcements. And we'd like you to keep receiving our email announcements, and they'll have different class schedules. So please do not opt out of IT training emails. And we promise that we won't spam you. Emily and I have that commitment, but we want you to be involved and participate in our trainings. So that's all I have. I'll stay on the line if you have questions. Otherwise, you're free to go. Thank you. That was not a good training. Really? I thought it made sense. Except I didn't like going back and forth with the libraries on this.